Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and this week I've been driving the 2023 Ford F-150 Tremor. Up front is a 5.0 liter V8, and down below is a 10-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be making this video because I've spent the last 7 days driving the new F-150 Tremor, and I have plenty of thoughts to share with you today. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me, you can head on over to my website, zachpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out, and that can be found in the description below. Now let's get back to that 5.0 liter V8. Well, it's a naturally aspirated V8 that Ford has been making for quite some time. You might better know it as the Coyote V8, and it makes 400 horsepower. Now there are several other powertrains offered in the F-150, most notably also the V6 twin-turbo EcoBoost engine that makes exactly the same horsepower of 400, and yet that engine also makes more torque, about 500 foot-pounds as opposed to the 410 that this makes. Here's why I prefer the 5-liter V8. It's two reasons. First of all, sounds better. When you get on the throttle, it sounds good. But the second reason is the complexity. The twin turbos add a lot to it, and at some point you're gonna have to swap out those turbos for newer units. You're not going to have to do that in a naturally aspirated V8, so I really love that. Like I said, paired to it is a 10-speed automatic transmission. This is across the board in Ford's F-Series pickup trucks now, and I like it for the most part. There were a couple of times that I found it to be a little clunky, especially on the highway, especially under heavy load. It wasn't super happy to be doing its job, but all other city driving, it shifts pretty quietly. It shifts very frequently, but you don't really notice that too much. Last but not least about the drivetrain, the Ford F-150 is 4-wheel drive. Now you can find 2-wheel drive variants, but the Tremor is going to be 4-wheel drive, and most F-150s are going to be 4-wheel drive. So how does it feel to drive a Ford F-150? It's really nice. You know, the suspension is harsh because it's a truck, but it's not as harsh as you would think. It actually has a pretty comfortable ride. You do hear the suspension working, but you don't always feel it. Much like when your parent is yelling at your sibling downstairs, it has very little to no effect on you. Visibility is good for what it is. It is a tall vehicle, and there are camera systems to help out with that. But this is the only time I'll mention this because I'm sure that no one wants to hear it, but this is a very large vehicle. If you're coming from driving a Toyota Corolla, this is going to be an insane wake-up call. Now, if you've driven trucks all your life, this isn't going to be anything new to you, but there were a few instances where the size seemed to really hurt the vehicle. I took it out to a birthday brunch on Sunday, and I had to do a 3-point turn to get out of my parking spot. The cafe's parking lot wasn't that big. I had to pick up medicine for my dog, and again, the pharmacy parking lot was tiny, so I actually just didn't take this truck to do those errands. I took my little Mazda so I could zip in and zip out. So size is definitely a big factor when it comes to the driving experience of the F-150, so just buckle up and prepare yourself for that. Fuel economy, real world fuel economy. What have I been averaging? 16.6 miles to the gallon. Now, it's not stellar, it's not amazing, it's not fantastic, but it is a naturally aspirated 5-liter V8 in a big honkin' truck, so to be expected. Now, I would say probably half of this, or actually more than half, was highway driving. And I do want to note that earlier this year, Toyota sent me a Sequoia hybrid, and this gets better fuel economy than, at least in my time with it, I should say. The F-150 got better fuel economy than the hybrid Sequoia when I had it, driving in similar conditions. And the F-150 does have a bigger tank. When I got it, it had almost 500 miles of range to one gas tank. Very, very lovely there. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a completely digital gauge cluster. Off to the left is my tachometer, and off to the right is my speedometer. I can customize the gauges up top, as well as the information in the center that you're seeing here. I really do like this gauge cluster. A little small part of me worries about reliability long term, as people own F-150s not for a year or two. You don't really lease trucks. People obviously do, but a truck is a big investment, and so a lot of times people buy them and use them for years and 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 years to come. So I worry about those digital gauges just a little bit, but so far I haven't heard anything negative about them. They do change as well with the drive modes, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. On the steering wheel on the left, I have my adaptive cruise controls, volume, and voice commands. I'm not a big fan of the adaptive cruise. The lane centering system wasn't really amazing. It kind of ping-ponged ever so slightly. The adaptive part, the speed up, slow down, was pretty good, but the lane centering wasn't really fantastic. I would say maybe this is because the truck is so big that small corrections ended up feeling like big corrections, but I ended up turning it off anytime I went on the highway and just never used it. Off to the right, we have our selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as our phone options and skip track. The overall steering wheel does feel nice. It has this nice orange stitching for the Tremor package, and I felt pretty comfortable using it all week. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent with a little bronze accent as well. We have our mirror light options, plug options, and our tailgate release, headlights and dimmer switches, as well as the rear cargo light, parking brake release, and the pedal adjustments. Ford's been doing this for over 2 decades now, and I really like that they offer that. Moving on to the door, we do have 3 different levels of memory seats, as well as lock and unlock, power mirrors, power folding mirrors, and power windows on the door. Moving into the center, we do have our camera button, so this will enable several different cameras that you can select through. My favorite has been the 360 camera. Has been incredibly helpful for figuring out if I'm in a parking spot or not, so love to see that. But you can turn on a rear-facing either trailer hitch camera or just a rear-facing camera while you're driving. So these are the only 2 camera views that are allowed while the vehicle is in motion for safety reasons. But if you do want to keep an eye on your trailer, you can do that while moving on the highway. I also have my parking sensors on and off, hazard switch, traction control, and trail control, which is basically one pedal driving for a gasoline engine to help sort of modulate that throttle. Then we have our giant infotainment screen. So we do have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which was not offered on the Ford Bronco Sport Heritage that I just had. And overall, I like this screen. It's been really, really nice, very clear, very quick, not glitchy at all. And there are some cool features we can go to down here: driver assistance options, onboard power options. But one of the coolest is zone lighting. So this will actually enable LEDs around the vehicle to turn on, and you can choose which ones you want on to light up a work site, or if you're out on the farm, it's pitch black outside, you can't see what you're doing, you can actually use your truck as a sort of lighting rig, which is very, very cool, as you're seeing here. And I think it's actually very, very helpful. I wish more vehicles had this. Here's what the backup camera looks like, although it looks the same as the camera button that we talked about earlier. To the left, we do have our Pro Trailer Assist, as well as off to the right, we have this unlabeled button that actually opens the upper glove box in front of the passenger. Then we have a bunch more buttons. So we have very simple radio controls, volume to the left, tune to the right, things like that. You can turn the screen off. Then we have our climate controls. We do get dual zone climate, heated and ventilated seats. The fan speed works very, very well. And overall, I'm very happy with it. Off to the right of all of that, we do have a 12-volt outlet, as well as an AC 120-volt 20-amp outlet, which is a wall-style outlet, an American standard wall outlet. Fantastic to see here in the F-150, and we use this a bunch for charging things, plugging things in. It was a great, great help. Off to the left, we have our trailer brake sensitivity, as well as our 4-wheel drive and 2-wheel drive options. Of course, we have 2 high, 4 automatic, and 4 low, as well as a rear locking diff, but this is where we'll find our drive modes. So starting all the way off to the left, we do have Sport, which is very nice. We can come over here to Eco. Everything lights up green. Then we have tow haul, which is very, very nice. Didn't really use much of this though. Then we have our normal mode, blue gauges. I really like the look of this, and this is what I kept the vehicle in 99% of driving. Then we do have slippery, which was helpful for doing some water crossings, seen here. I put it into slippery mode. It does put it into 4 automatic, and it didn't slip, so that's good. Then we have our deep snow and sand. We have our mud/ruts and our rock crawl modes. I love, love, love these animations that Ford threw in here. They're very high quality and just make the truck feel a lot more special when flipping through the modes. Then we come to this openable cubby. We have a wireless charger down below, as well as USB-C and USB-A. And then moving into the center console itself. Off to the left, we do have the shifter, pretty standard shifter in how it works. It does feel a little flimsy for being a 2023. This is the only part of the F-150 that doesn't feel like it's as good a quality as the rest of the truck. It's making a noise, it's not doing great, which could be the fact that this was a press car, almost 12,000 miles on it, which means a lot of journalists have had their butts in this seat, and they could have broken it along the way. I don't know for sure, but something that caught my eye. However, it does have a party piece that I'm sure you're aware of, where when you hit this button off to the left, it will fold down the shifter, and then you can fold out the center console into a little table. This was actually very helpful. My girlfriend and I had dinner in here, and we used it as a table, which, you don't get in most cars, and it made life a lot easier. This is meant for using a laptop, clipboard when you're out on the job site. Very smart feature from Ford, but again, I do worry about the reliability of putting your shifter up and down. Then off to the right, we do have cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test, and it's not happy. It fits, but you really gotta kind of work it. So I will give the F-150 Tremor a pass on the big friggin' bottle test because it does hold it, but again, it sort of begrudgingly holds it, and I'm not a huge fan of it. Moving into the center console, we have tons of space in here. Really, really plentiful. I had nuts and bolts. I did a whole Harbor Freight run. We put stuff in here. When we went out west, we put cameras and water bottles and so many things in this center console. It really, really is very spacious and useful. Up above everything, we do have some buttons above my head. We do have our power opening moonroof. Love that. We have a sunglasses holder, and then we have a bunch of auxiliary switches. Now, as of right now, these don't do anything, but there's a fuse box underneath the hood where you can wire in an air horn, air compressor, extra LED lights, whatever you want. You can wire directly to these switches so they're not aftermarket looking. It doesn't look cheap and flimsy. You can make them do whatever you want. Personally, whenever my girlfriend and I got in the car, we would flip all the switches like we were in a Top Gun movie, pretending that we were way cooler than we were. But moving back down, we do have these seats. The seats say Tremor embroidered in them in that same bronze orange color that you'll find around the rest of the truck, and I really, really like that. They've been very comfortable. They are heated and ventilated and do everything I want them to do. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2023 Ford F-150 Tremor, and wow, I mean, this is pretty nice. I've never laid down flat on my back in a car review ever before, so this is a first, everyone. Let's see if I can stay within the vehicle. There we go. I'm walking around, by the way. Okay. Now we're properly sitting. Was the camera that wonky the whole time? Now we are properly sitting in the back of the F-150. If you didn't see by all of those acrobats, there's so much room back here. It's insane. It's almost a grotesque amount of space. I mean, this is beyond first class. This is beyond the Rolls-Royce that I drove. This is beyond anything. This is the best back seat of any automobile. That's it. Down below, I do have heated seats back here and a 12-volt outlet, USB-A, USB-C, and a wall outlet, all found down there. I do have this pull tab opening center console, and I forgot to mention it with the overhead, but there is a switch to power open this rear window. love seeing that. But overall, fantastic backseat. I know that took longer than it really needed to, but I just wanted to emphasize a point. Let's go hop out. We'll take a quick look at the bed, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the F-150 Tremor. Now, we do have a button on the key fob. Hit it twice, and it does power release. The tailgate, absolutely love that. Now, right off the bat, you will see these little squares here. This is for C-clamps. So say you're trying to hold something down while you drill into it or something like that. You can actually put the C-clamps, imagine my hands are a C-clamp, put it in there, and then you can clamp it down to that. Once we are in the back, nothing too crazy. We do get a wall outlet over here. Fantastic to see that. Actually, 2 wall outlets. Some tie-down areas, nice Ford bed liner. This is an optional spray-in bed liner from Ford. Really love seeing that. Overall, nothing too crazy, but I just love the bed back here. This makes this truck so usable, and I love it. It is not a power back up tailgate, but that's okay. I can use my big boy muscles to put it back up. Now we got to talk about the looks, and this is finished in Avalanche, which I think is a really interesting color. It's almost like a cement gray, but it's not like overly gray. It's not overcast. It's not also white either. So I like the sort of balance of that with the bronze/orange accents that you see with the rest of the Tremor package. Overall, I think it's a rather handsome vehicle. The Tremor also gets the off-road tires, a little bit of a lift, the side steps, and all of those goodies. I think it's a handsome truck, and I've enjoyed walking out to it every morning this week. However, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. Finally, what do I think driving the F-150 for the last 7 days? Well, I think this truck has been incredibly comfortable, useful, and manageable. The only real downside I've seen with it has been that size, but again, if you're buying an F-150, you kind of know what you're getting into. I just don't drive trucks every day. So, to me, it was a little bit of a culture shock. But what I want to talk about with the end of this video is why I love big pickup trucks. And I can't say that this is for everyone. I'm sure people own pickup trucks for malicious or poor reasons, but this is the reason why I love pickup trucks, and you can take it as you will. I like being able to offer help to people, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to be out here and be a pick-me boy and say, oh, I just want to help the community. I love people so much. That's not the case. But what I do love is when a friend is in a little bit of a jam or moving or they need some mulch for their lawn, I like being able to say, toss in the back of the truck. I got you. No worries. I don't mind. I like being able to say that. Now, back in high school, I drove a big pickup truck. I had a 1998 Dodge Ram 1500 with the long box. 5.9 V8, I loved that thing. And I loved helping people with that truck. I enjoyed when a friend would text me and say, hey, I'm moving this weekend. Would you mind helping out? I enjoyed that, as long as they were a close friend. Now, when it was friends of friends of friends of friends who started messaging me, it got a little tiring. But I think it all stems from the idea that growing up, I haven't really ever had a huge focus on my self-worth. I tend to measure myself in what I can do for others. That's what gives me sort of meaning in life. You know, if you're a close friend of mine, I seriously enjoy driving people to the airport or picking up people from the airport. I love being able to help people in that way. I like being there for my friends, and the F-150 really accentuates that. You can do anything you want with this truck. If you need to tow a disabled car, go for it. Buddy ran out of gas and there's no gas station in sight, bring him some gas. You could fill up a 500-gallon container if you want and bring it out to him. That outlet in the bed, you need to charge some equipment, you need to run a power drill, a Dremel for a little bit. You can do that. This truck is meant and built and designed to help people achieve the things that they have to achieve, not necessarily automotively. I love sports cars. I've owned several for many, many years. But in all reality, those are selfish vehicles. I mean, just being honest, no one has ever said, oh, I got a friend with a sports car. Let's call him up and see if he's free on Saturday to help us out. No. No one's ever done that. And so I like being that friend. I like being someone that someone could depend on when it comes to things that they need to get done. I like getting that phone call that says, hey, I need to pick up these 8x10 sheets of plywood. I don't know what to do. I like being able to get that call and say, I got a truck. We'll toss it in back. Does noon work for you? I love that. And that's why I've really, really enjoyed the F-150, because I get to say that again. This whole week I've been texting my friends, hey, you need anything dropped off? You need anything delivered? Need anything towed? And that's brought me a lot of joy. Thank you, Ford F-150, for allowing me to feel that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope this was a thorough tour of the Ford F-150 Tremor. I hope it answered any questions you might have had. Huge thank you to the Ford Motor Company for sending me this vehicle for the last 7 days. I am testing out the Ford Maverick next, so maybe that might be perfect because it's a smaller pickup truck, but still a pickup truck. But we'll see. Huge thank you as well to G. Schmidt for organizing the delivery and cleaning of this vehicle, as well as the Midwestern Automotive Media Association for just being so stinking cool. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.